Welcome back to Knee to Knee, the podcast where we explore how our connections have a direct impact on our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And by building relationships and showing up as our best selves in business and life is really the key. I'm your host, Mark Merritt. And in today's episode, we have someone whose story genuinely caught me off guard. Rebecca Courtney is a facilitations coach at AJ & Smart, a company that's based in Berlin that designs workshops and trains facilitators for some of the biggest brands in the world. We're talking about Lego, Spotify, those kind of brands. But before all of that, Rebecca was a school teacher in Cork, Ireland. And her journey from the classroom to the world stage of facilitation is a story about trusting your instincts, letting go of the plan, and building real connections with people no matter who's in the room. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it actually means to facilitate a group versus just to presenting one. We'll get into emergent facilitation, this idea of reading the room and working with the group's energy instead of forcing your own agenda. Rebecca's going to share a story about completely scrapping a 5-day training she put together, and she did that on day 1, and then what happened next. And I'll share my own story about what I felt was one of the worst keynote addresses I've ever given and why the audience completely disagreed with my own personal assessment. We'll also wrap up with something simple and beautiful that Rebecca is doing right now to build deeper connections with the people she loves the most. One last note before we begin, there's a bit of a quirk with the video file itself. The conversation Rebecca and I had is one we definitely want to share. After chatting it over with Rebecca, we agreed to release the audio version only. I know that's a bit of a bummer, but there is a lot that Rebecca shares with us that is just too valuable not to release something. I hope you enjoy it, so let's get knee to knee with Rebecca Courtney. Well, welcome to Knee, and thank you again for joining us. We have another awesome episode with us today. We have today joining us is Rebecca Courtney. Good morning, good evening. We'll explain why the difference there in a couple of minutes here. So Rebecca is a dynamic facilitation coach. I really want to find out what that means as we get in here at AJ & Smart, and a former educator turned collaborator expert. With a decade shaping young minds and years, facilitating transformative workshops for giants like Spotify and Lego, so cool, Rebecca excels at emergent facilitation, creating safe, energizing spaces where people play unlocks creativity and deepens bonds. Rebecca, welcome. So excited to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, Mark. And wow, that was such an intro. I feel like my head is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Thank you so much. I'm very
Those
excited about
headsets
our
are adjustable
conversation.
if that's the case.
They are,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think I need to after that. Wow, it's so funny. When you were talking, I was like, oh my God, wait, I have done these things and that is me. Wow.
Which is why often I
Kinda
like
get
to
lost.
send, it's interesting to, when you read the intro, when I sent it to you ahead of time, it's like, oh, okay. But when you hear it, that often is a very different feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I think a lot of people don't take the time to actually slow down and think about what they've been doing in their career. And I think that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I did do that. Like, yeah, it's a proud moment.
I love it. So the reason I said good morning, good afternoon, whatever, to give you an idea, we're in the mountain time in the United States, and Rebecca is in Berlin. While she doesn't have a German accent, she's actually from Ireland. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Originally from Cork in Ireland, the very south of Ireland. And I moved to Berlin 3 years ago, actually 3.5 years ago, to work at AJ & Smart. The company is based here in Berlin.
Okay. I actually have a cousin who moved over to Cork from the United States about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Cork City, it's so small that when I hear things like that, I'm like, what?
Yeah, she's loving it over there.
So nice.
Yeah.
It's really, really, I'm literally just back. I came back 2 days ago from visiting Cork, and it's so nice. If you haven't been, you have to go sometime.
Okay, bucket list item. Yes.
Yes.
So Rebecca, tell us a little bit. I'm curious. I'm looking at your introduction, and tell us a little bit about AJ & Smart. What does AJ & Smart do?
Yes. Okay. So AJ & Smart, it's originally started out about 14, 15 years ago. It was founded by my brother, Jonathan Courtney.
Oh,
And so he founded it originally as a design studio, design agency, and they started off doing a lot of UX design. And then they went in more of the direction of education. And so education, facilitation, and designing workshops for people. And so that's what it is today. There's a huge focus on experiences, designing experiences for people and training people in facilitation and workshop design. And so that's what I do there as well. I do a lot of facilitation, coaching people to become facilitators, designing trainings. And yeah, we have a really beautiful community of facilitators too. And yeah, I do a lot of coaching within that community. I think at AJ and Smart, it's very hard to explain it in like one sentence what we do. We do a bit of everything, but
you did a great
yeah,
job. It wasn't one sentence, but yeah, I think I follow that.
yeah. And especially if you're an employee at AJ and Smart, you're a jack of all trades, you're doing everything. So I'm doing coaching, but I'm also doing a lot of social media content, trainings, client work. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's really fun, really, really fun.
That sounds a lot like hosting a podcast, right? How many
Yeah.
how many hats do you wear, right?
I know you're doing the sales and marketing, the delivery, oh my God, there's so much to it.
I love that you can stay busy with all the different things that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like, and no week is the same there as well. So like within 1 week, I'll be coaching in our community, coaching facilitators to help them build their careers in facilitation. And then the next day, I'll be like designing a resource for putting out there into the world, like a lead magnet or something. Or else another week, I'll be designing a curriculum for one of our courses. It's just like there's so much to it, but it's
Yeah.
really great in comparison to I used to be a school teacher. And so every day was very, very the same
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way when I was school teaching. So now this is great. It's so good for people who want variety.
Yep.
Love it.
I'm really, really curious. You went from teaching kids, your brother started AJ and Smart. And so you went from teaching kids. How does that connect over? And what I really, obviously, because we deal with connections, right? We want to understand
Yeah.
how to build those connections. So you went from teaching children to teaching adults really
Yeah.
all over the place. That's got to be a challenge, because if you're just in one country teaching
hmm
somebody from Cork, or if I'm teaching somebody here in Utah, right? That's one thing. But all of a sudden you're going to Italy and you're going to all over the place where
Yeah.
cultures and how to connect is different. So I'm really fascinated how you manage that.
Well, it was a challenge. So, first of all, like maybe just a bit of backstory on how I actually got to AJ and Smart. And so I was on my whole teaching journey while my brother Jonathan was on his whole facilitation and workshop design journey. And to be honest, I didn't really understand his world. I thought that he was like really into tech and like the whole UX design thing. So I kind of switched off my brain in terms of like understanding what AJ and Smart was about. And I
No,
was like, I'm
I
a
have a couple
teacher.
of tech
He's a tech
brothers. I do the
person.
same thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, you're here.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, oh my God, yeah, I don't know what he's doing, you know? And so then the more I was visiting Berlin, the more Jonathan started talking to me about this idea of facilitation. And he was like, it's actually very similar to teaching. And I was like, what?
It is.
Really? How?
Yeah.
And then he explained it to me. In facilitation, you're still working with groups of people, you're helping them collaborate, you're using all the same skills as a teacher. And he was like, we're moving more in that direction with facilitation and designing more customized workshops for people. And we think that it would be really cool if you were part of the team and maybe you could try it out. And I was like, what? Like just change my entire
I
career?
love
What?
facilitating.
Like,
That is a great
yeah.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was very worried about like leaving the teaching career behind because I also have nerves about teaching adults and things. So, but I took a big risk and took the leap and it was amazing. And so like the change from teaching children to adults was huge initially and I was super nervous. But then the very first workshop I did actually was with Lego
Oh, okay.
It was very like
You went
crazy.
big. It was big, go big or
Yeah,
go home.
went
That's what that
big.
was. Yeah.
Actually, this was Jonathan's tactic as well, though. He was like,
Uh-huh.
when I was in this kind of deciding whether I'd stay with teaching or going to facilitation and coming over to Berlin and everything, he was like, look, just come over, do this workshop with me. Let's like collaborate on it and see what you think of this. And so I was like plonked in the middle of a Lego workshop and I loved it. I was so scared, so excited, everything. And yeah, it was after that then I was like, this is what I want to do. Like the fear of, teaching, like teaching adults instead of kids just went away when I just, got to connect with people on a human level. Also, they wanted to be there,
That's the
like
key.
kids.
There's the key. Kids don't want to, often kids don't want to
Yeah.
be there, right? But mom makes me, the
Yeah.
state, whatever organization, but adults, they're there because often they want to be.
Yeah.
Even if the company says you need to go to this, they're at least there.
Mm.
And a lot of people, you'll have those that sit in the back and don't want to pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you still
Definitely.
have, you've got a lot of people that are there because they want to be,
Mm.
which makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And they also, listen to you. So
Yes.
there's still a lot of managing challenging group
Mhm.
dynamics and stuff, same as you would as a teacher, but yeah, it's different. You don't have to raise your voice, you don't have to put in like exert so much energy to get them on your side and stuff. So yeah, it was a pleasant change from teaching kids to adults. But I still do miss the kids. They're so amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I think the hardest, and you were just talking about, sometimes people will question and things. I think the hardest meeting I ever facilitated happened in Philadelphia
Mm.
in the US. And I was facilitating a meeting there and we were talking about connections. We were talking about the soft side of things.
Hmm.
And this was with a company that just had a bunch of really great blue collar workers, right? I mean, and this blue collar worker guy stands up and he goes, "This is all just a bunch of soft cycle mumble bumble, mumble jumble stuff. I don't even see how this is going to connect with what we're doing." And he put in front of this great big room full of people,
Oh my God. How
you
did you
know,
handle that?
yeah, I looked at him and I said, "You know what? I can exactly understand why you would say that. Because if you haven't experienced these things a little bit, actually being able to do them and they work, I would totally agree with you. It's just psycho mumbo jumbo. Let's talk about how we can make that connection and how I can hopefully, maybe you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, but I agree it can be from your point of view. So let's see if we can bridge the gap." And
Ooh,
that
that's
just
amazing.
calmed him and he sat down and then we
Oh.
spent the rest of the day, right? So it was really kind of a cool experience, but I remember in front of this room full of, dozens of
Mm.
people and someone goes, "You're full of crap."
You know what?
Right?
You handle that so well. And like that is also one of my strategies or techniques of just like diffusing it. And a lot of the times the difficult behavior or the challenging behavior that arises like that is from that place. They've had bad experiences with a
Right.
workshop or a facilitator in the past where they didn't feel heard or listened to. So they're just expressing that. And you gave him or her the space to just get that out and you understood it. Like you handled that so well.
You have to be able to, when you're trying to reach, especially in a room like you're talking about with where there's lots of people, you have to be able
Yeah.
to, there's no sense in getting defensive. There's no sense in putting up that wall. If I would have done the other side, well, you know what, you may think this doesn't work, but you really don't know. That's the
Yeah.
wrong kind of answer, right? But if you
Shut down.
acknowledge where they're at,
Hmm.
you know, if you, and this is something that I utilize a lot, is you meet them where they are and then you can help bring them along. I can't expect you to come to where I'm at without coming where you are and seeing from your eyes, right, of
Hmm.
what you've experienced.
Absolutely. I love that. Meeting them where they're at is so powerful.
Yeah, it really helps. And that actually, I think from a business standpoint is amazing, but I think it is even more so in our personal lives, right?
Hmm.
If you're having a
Oh yeah.
conversation with your brother Jonathan, by the way, that's a great name. I have a younger brother named Jonathan as well. So, hey, right?
It is a
Um,
great name.
but if you're having a conversation with him and you're not seeing eye to eye, and those are the relationships. Work stuff is great. I can go home and I don't have to think about it. However,
Yeah.
if I'm work stuff, home stuff. This is a relationship that I want to have and last, whether it's family or a close friend. And I think you have to be able to see from that other person's point of view. Stephen R.
Totally.
Covey called it seek first to understand, then be understood.
Yeah, oh my God, that's my mom's favorite phrase. Like I think she says that every day. Honestly, she's always like, seek first to understand, seek first to like she loves it. So that's I need to tell her that after this. But I totally
Yeah,
agree with this.
yeah, and it's amazing to be able to do that in that personal
Mhm.
relationships as well. So
Absolutely.
let's
Absolutely.
let's chat really quick. It's always interesting when you spend all kinds of time getting ready for to facilitate or to present or whatever you're doing, you're teaching a group,
Hmm.
going off script.
My favorite.
So, and it always happens, right? I mean,
Yes.
you can have a perfect script and you can have it all written out, but something happens. And next thing you know, you're off in the weeds somewhere trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? How how do you handle going off script like that to be able to
Mm.
bring people back to either back to where or redirect your conversation entirely based off of what's happening?
Yeah, so I found this very challenging at the beginning, going from teacher to facilitator and working in a school to AJ and Smart.
Yeah.
AJ and Smart, especially Jonathan, his way of facilitating is emergent. And emergent facilitation just means just working with the group's energy and like having a rough plan, but just moving with the group and allowing the group guide the process essentially, but still being in charge of it a bit. I found this very scary first, and I
Yeah.
really hung tightly to my agenda. And I was like, no, we have to go this way. And I could feel that, like, after I would facilitate in that way, I would be exhausted and the group of participants would be. So I knew I had to change things up and rely more on my intuition versus my agenda. And so the more experience I got, the more comfortable I got with groups, the easier it was for me to just kind of let go of that plan essentially and move more with the group's energy and vibe. And I think I had this pivotal moment. I remember the moment where I just went like, I'm not gonna do the plan anymore. I'm gonna go this way instead because this is what the group needs to feel connected, to feel grounded, and to feel heard actually. And so one of these examples was that I was doing this big training. It was a 5-day training with a big client,
That's
and
a
it was
big
just
training.
on
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and I was leading it, and I was leading it with two other co-facilitators. It's a very scary, exciting opportunity, and I had the whole thing planned. Like the 5 days, I had like a rough idea of what I was going to be doing, but like there was an agenda, and I was going in with it. And then when I got there, I I was met with the group, and I was kind of thinking, this isn't what they need at all. Actually, what I have planned for them, if I go with this, ruthlessly go with this for the next 5 days, we'll get somewhere, but it won't be as powerful as if I like talk to them first, figure out what they want and figure out their expectations from the training,
Yeah.
try to design it around, co-create it with them essentially every day. And so that's what I did. I like went with my intuition, told the client that I was going to veer off the plan a bit. Client was freaking out a small bit because the client who hired me was also like had somebody above them, and oh, it was kind of scary, but I was like, please just trust the process. And they did. They trusted me to just go through it the way I wanted to, and it was amazing. I scrapped the whole beginning of the workshop and instead spent about 1 hour doing an exercise called hopes and fears and setting and getting their expectations for the next 5 days together. And from that, it reveals that they like the hostility that I was feeling initially when I got into the room with them. I was feeling that because they were insanely busy that week. That week was they were being pulled in like a
That's when
million
adults
different
don't want to
directions.
be there and they have to be, they want to do other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I gave them the space to actually get that all out. And I explained how this training will actually save them time in the future and allow them to not feel that manic feeling that they're feeling now, being pulled in all these different directions, and help them work more efficiently. And when I did that, oh my God, you could actually feel the room, like their shoulders dropping and being like,
Yeah.
thank God she gets it. Like, so yeah, creating that safe space and allowing them to talk rather than just going in with your ruthless plan and like trying to make it fit is way better. But it takes practice, I will say. It takes practice and self-belief and trust in yourself to just
Yes.
try something
I was
else.
going to say I'm glad you said self-belief because I was thinking you've got to have a strong core of where you're at that you can handle this. Right.
Yes,
And
100%.
I've found as a business leader, sitting down exactly like you've done and hearing from that group, that then
Mm,
they had ownership in what was happening, right? They
totally.
the training was what they wanted. And so they've expressed it, you create that for them, and now they have ownership and then they have buy-in to that. It's so much easier to get their
Hmm.
buy-in. And then you're running longer down the road than just the facilitation ends after 5 days, and a week later they go, I don't know what we did.
Yeah,
Right.
totally, totally. Like that's how most of these
Hmm.
things happen, you know? So yeah, I really, really believe if you can go in with a loose plan and work more with the group versus then, your recipes and your exercises that you have planned out, it's just going to be a more beautiful experience for you as a facilitator and the group that you're working with. And also a really cool tool that we use at AJN Smart to create this sense of like emergence
Uh-huh.
and co-creation in the room is a flip chart instead of slides. So if we're doing anything in person, we bring a massive flip chart with us and we handwrite everything. So we don't even like prepare or handwritten slides. We write as we train and as we go through the workshop. And this makes it way more engaging, but also it gives people that sense of like, okay, we're actually part of creating
Right.
what's
I was
going
gonna
on
say
here.
that's really good. So yeah,
Hmm.
I was asked to give a lunchtime keynote a couple weeks ago to a local group.
Ah, okay.
And I went in and I gave this, and I went in prepped, right? You go
Hmm.
in and I've got all kinds of stuff. They say you have 30 minutes, which is super, super short. I've done full day facilitations, but 30 minutes, you need to be succinct. You got to be quick, right?
Yeah, totally.
You walk in, they had 100% technology failure.
No, worst.
it
A
was
100%.
it was done. I
Mm.
couldn't get anything to work. And of course, we've got people scrambling trying to figure it out. And I'm standing up here and my keynote, it's on empathy.
Okay.
And at that point I'm like, "You know what? We're just
Useless.
winging it." So I mean, I had a couple of notes and I just got up there and just started without having anything to support me, which I had prepped
Mm.
for, right? But they had gone too long, and instead of 30 minutes, now I had 20 minutes,
Oh my
and it kept
God.
getting shorter and shorter. And then finally they got one piece of the technology working at the very, very end that I could utilize, right? But you never know the impact, right? When you have, and I'm winging it, and this whole room knows, these are business leaders. They all know they've been in that spot where you're winging it. What I should have said about 10 minutes into it, are you feeling empathy for me? Right.
Yeah.
But I
It was a
didn't think of
perfect
that until
demo.
a friend of mine said it the other day, and I was like, that would have been so much better. But it was interesting when I left that meeting, my wife happened to be there. And when I left that meeting, she goes, how do you feel? And I go, that was hands down the worst presentation, it's the worst one I've ever done.
Mm,
And I've been speaking for years. And I was kicking myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have fixed this. I could have done
yeah.
that. And then I went back to, that was a month ago. And then I went back to their local meeting a couple of days ago, and I was shocked. You
They
never
loved it.
know how it happens. How many people came up and said, "You were amazing. That was the best thing we've heard in a long
I
time."
knew
And I was
it.
just like, "Really? That was
The
good?"
realness,
The
the
realness of it.
authenticity.
And I think that's the
Love
emergent
it.
thing that we're talking about. You have to be willing to ebb and flow and bob and weave, or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, based off of what's going on, not only with technology, but even with your audience. And I want to kind of circle
totally.
that back. All this, we've talked a lot of business stuff, but we remember that all of these principles can be applied into our personal connections. Every one of these can be, right? So
Everything, like especially facilitation, I use all of everything that I use in groups with teams, I also use at home and in my
yeah.
personal life with my personal relationships. It's all transferable, which is amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is. So
Hmm.
I'm going to ask you our magic question that we love to
Woo!
ask as we get ready to wrap up. Based off of our conversation today, what is
Hmm.
one thing that you would recommend that someone can do today to help build deeper connections with those around them?
Okay. By the way, I love this question and I'm totally going to steal that for my future
Oh,
facilitation.
please do. Please do.
Thank
That's
you.
actually, it's my wife. I'm just going to say she's the one that said, ask that question. And we started doing it, and we've
Really?
got oh yeah, we call her the head of the
Oh,
network.
oh my God, I
She's in
love
the
it.
background giving great ideas all the time. So yeah,
Pass on my love for
I
her
will.
because this is such a powerful question. And I don't know if I'm going to answer it the same way that your other guests have
No,
answered
we
it.
don't
It's
like,
very,
yeah,
and I suppose it's very unique to every person.
right.
But I'm going to take this like it's the perfect time to ask me this question because I have actually gotten into reading at the moment. I've always adored buying books, the ritual of going out and browsing and buying books, but I'd just buy them and collect them, and then it was like done. But now I've actually started reading them,
Now you have a
and
library you need to
I've
read.
yeah, yeah, oh my God. So first of all, I'm realizing that one sentence in a book can change your entire perspective, which I'm like, wow, this is so incredibly powerful. So I'm really appreciating reading. And I'm also like telling other people, connecting with other people through recommending books that I'm reading. And so what I would say and what I'd recommend is if you want to start reading, if you want to take it up as a habit, you've been putting it off for years, take it up as a habit and start recommending books and talking about them with others, with friends and family. And I feel like that is a way to create such deep connections with people because it's working for me now. For Christmas, I've bought my mom and my aunt the same book that I'm reading right now, and the three of us are reading it together. And normally we'd go weeks without chatting deeply about anything, but this has just connected the three of us together
That is so
in a way
cool.
that I'm so excited about. It's a lovely way to talk to family.
Can I ask what book you're reading? The three of you now.
Yeah, so we're reading Elizabeth Gilbert's new one. It's called All the Way to the River.
Okay.
She wrote Eat, Pray, Love as well, and Big Magic, which is also a beautiful book about creativity. Highly recommend. But this one is it's about loss, it's about love. It's so beautiful and powerful. And yeah, every page I'm reading, I'm like, wow, I just feel like my brain is expanding so much from it. So that would be,
Those are the best
it's a
books.
recommendation. Yeah. Wow. And I'm 35. I didn't realize the power of reading. But you know what? I'm very excited now that I have so many books to explore from now on.
Yes, yes,
It's a great
definitely.
way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're definitely book people on our end, my wife and I as well. So I
Yeah,
love that. So yeah. Um, Rebecca,
nice.
thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today. And wrapping your day up in Berlin as we
Hmm.
get into our day here. So thank you. I so appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes with us and sharing some of your talents and some of your gifts with us, and that we can actually utilize to help build our connections better with at work, whether it's at home. So
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much. Thank you
much.
for having me, Mark. It was so lovely talking to you, and our conversations have sparked some stuff in my head as well. So thank you so
I
much.
love
Have
that.
a
I
lovely,
love
have a
that.
lovely day.
All right. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining in and meeting with us again on Knee to Knee. We sure appreciate you coming. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. YouTube really kind of watches those things. That helps us get the message out. And we want to get our messages out to as many people as we can. So thank you again. And we'll catch you on the next go around.
Bye.